Hello my beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I may be the last person in the space of the YouTube to film this video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my fall eyeshadow palette wardrobe. Eyeshadow palettes that fit into the beautiful fall season. Fall is my favorite season. I share the seasonal eyeshadow palette recommendations, what I love out of my existing collection every year, and I will have some related videos linked for you in the description box. In today's video I'm going to share with you my top 15 eyeshadow palettes for fall. I went through my entire collection and these palettes definitely stood out. I definitely have more eyeshadow palettes that would fit into the fall season. However, I also love to rotate my makeup, and if that sounds interesting to you, I hope you enjoy this video. Subscribe to my channel if you're not yet a subscriber, and if you're already a subscriber, welcome back. And now without further ado, let's dive in. I love fall. Even though I live in Florida and it's still 80 something degrees outside, my soul is asking for fall. So today I'm going to share 15 eyeshadow palettes with you. I love to switch my eyeshadow palettes. I love to switch them on a daily basis. Really, I do wear makeup every day, but I like to give a fair shot to all my eyeshadow palettes. Some of these palettes are already loved in my collection and some of them are newer. So let's dive in. The first one is the palette that is considerably new to my collection, Giad's palette from What's Up Beauty. This is a very compact eyeshadow palette and it's super easy like for traveling or taking with you on a go. Also, it has all magnetic pans. I really love this color story because it kind of is more on a lighter side if we're talking about the matte shades here. However, the versatility in this palette lays within the shimmers, and the shimmer formula is so stunning here in this palette. Some of the mattes here are more cool tone, and some of the mattes like the yellow and this warmer brown here, they are more on a warmer side, and you get the variety of shimmers. This is how you primarily differentiate your looks. I really love the quality of this palette, both mattes and shimmers. It's super easy to work with. However, it's also the formula that can take you day to night, and going into like fall festivities, Thanksgiving and Halloween, I think you can create some fun looks with this in the fall season. This next palette, no one is surprised, Ghost Town USA from NOMAD Cosmetics, still is one of my favorite palettes, neutral palettes, colorful palettes, or muted colorful, I should say. I really like this color story. You have some neutral side right here, and then you have colors, but they're muted colors. I really love neutral shades, and this palette is the comfort zone within the color for me. I really love the formula. Nomad matte shades are fabulous, and the shimmers here are also super beautiful. I really enjoy this color story. I think it's just very versatile. Even though you have some colorful shades here, this palette is quite cohesive in the undertones. All the shades are very easy to mix and match. This palette definitely is a seasonal favorite. Big shout out to another NOMAD Cosmetics palette. It's considerably new. It's a latest launch from NOMAD Cosmetics, Chicago SpeakEasy. This is a color story, again, that is somewhat neutral and again, muted colors. I do have a dedicated video on this palette with 3 look tutorials. So as a side note, I do have most of this palette in dedicated videos and also a ton of content on my beauty Instagram. So check that out for your inspiration. And of course, I will have some of the related or mentioned videos linked for you in the description box. This palette I love because obviously we have some neutrals, but also within the neutral section, this fiery orange gorgeousness is the shimmer that I want to wear the entire fall. By the way, all the shimmers here, this whole entire row of shimmers is multi-chromes, beautiful formula, and all the shimmers are just beautiful and smooth and reflective. I just really love them. And then the matte formula is so good and so consistent. Just the quality of this palette is just so beautiful. As you already may know, I'm not a huge fan of purples, but this side is muted purple. These purples are almost like watered down, like grayed out purples. If I were to ever wear purple at my own will, I would probably go with something like this. This pop of green was very fun surprise. This is actually the green that looks like this on skin. A lot of greens like that I tried in the past, they would lean like yellow or just weird. You have to prep your eye in a certain way. I didn't have to do anything special for this shade to come on my lid. So this is a newer palette on my collection, and I definitely find this color story very interesting, so I'm keeping this for the fall season. This next palette is a Tiny But Mighty Kiko Milano. This is called Glamour Multi-Finish. Beautiful neutral palette with a touch of burgundy, beautiful shimmers and beautiful mattes. I really love this palette. It's super useful for really throughout the year, but especially with this burgundy shade. And I really love reaching for this palette in the fall. So the next palette that I'm definitely pulling out, it's an honorable mention almost at this point because this palette has been in my collection for over a year now. This is a retro from Natasha Denona. This is a monochromatic, a burgundy, dusty pink palette. I really like the formula of Natasha Denona, both mattes and shimmers. I generally think that, to my opinion, Natasha Denona eyeshadows are one of the best ones on the market. When it comes to this specific color story, I generally love burgundies, starting from like fall and going into winter. I do have a dedicated video where I talk specifically about my burgundy eyeshadow palettes in my collection. I will have it linked for your reference, but this is the color story that I enjoy. I also do enjoy an easy monochromatic look. It's one of those day to night, easy to go from work, from office to the celebrations with your family for the holiday season. I think it's super beautiful. So this next palette just joined my collection recently, and it's a stunner. It's a barely basic from NOMAD Cosmetics. So my palette is, as you can see, missing one shade here, and because something bad happened to it. But horror stories of the eyeshadow palettes we will save for another day. So this is a palette that has monochromatic rows, 3 mattes in each row, and then 2 spectacular shimmers. The shimmers are to die for. They are just so special. And then the matte formula is super nice to work with. By the way, I do have a monthly rankings of my eyeshadow palettes that I try every like 4 to 6 weeks. Like I already said, this palette is considerably new to me, and this will be included in my next month ranking, so stay tuned for that. When I start thinking of fall and weather cooling down, I definitely think of a nice grunge moment, and Rose Metals from Anastasia Beverly Hills is serving me just that. Leather packaging is a vibe. This color story is so beautiful. A lot has to do with formula too, because how easy it is to create looks with this palette. I really love this like muted jewel tones here. There's a rustic shade, like almost like a dark mossy green, muted gold here, and shimmery chocolate. Such a beautiful combination of shimmers. What I enjoy doing with this palette is to mix the shades on my lids, do 2 or 3 shimmers, mix them all on top of each other, and they give you an effect of a triachrome, duochrome shades. They mix so well because their textures are so beautiful and soft. Whenever I think of a smoky, grungy eye for fall, this is a palette that I reach for. I also wanted to do an honorable mention to one of the very special palettes in my collection. This is a collab from HUDA, Austin, and Adept Cosmetics. You do get some of the very special shimmers. Adept Cosmetics shimmer formula is top notch. This is my only Adept Cosmetics palette, which I am definitely keeping my eyes on the brand because their formula of shimmers is spectacular. This palette only gives you 4 mattes. The matte formula is not necessarily my favorite, but I do enjoy this color combinations, yellow and green, and then this warm orange and burgundy in this corner, and then a variety of shimmers as well. These are just such a beautiful, like rich shimmers, and like I said, the shimmer formula is phenomenal. I definitely think of this palette as a glam palette because, again, the shimmers are phenomenal. Of course, I had to add more neutrals to my full stash. Here I have neutrals from Cosmic Brushes. This palette is neutrals with a spice, let's say. It's very versatile. Here on the bottom you have some purple tones, so some purple looks that you can create with it. Then of course greens and mustards, beautiful. And then here in the top 2 rows you have more of your neutral shades, but some of these shimmers are spectacular. There's this beautiful like iridescent complex shade, this fiery orange, amazing. This gold is super beautiful. This green to gold shifting shade is so special. The mattes are also easy to work with. I've already ranked this palette in my last monthly ranking video, so if you wanted to check that out. This is my first Cosmic Brushes palette, and I really enjoy how versatile this color story is, and it's perfect for fall. So I could not make this a fall video without mentioning this next palette, Ultimate Paradise Shock from NYX Cosmetics. I've talked about this palette so much when I got it. This is just a really fun color story, but this palette is also very affordable. It's in the drugstore realm. This is such a nice formula to work with. Also very, again, versatile color story. This is a perfect transitional palette from summer to fall. The darkest shade in this palette is this matte brown, and it actually is very pigmented, gives you a good amount of depth, and the shimmer formula is so pretty, and I really love the pops of color here just for fun. We know that in drugstore there are not that many good quality eyeshadow palettes. This is definitely an exception. So another honorable mention I would do to these palettes together. I have Garden Lights and Coastal Lights. Both of these palettes have such an amazing formula. I recently saw these palettes on huge sale at Ulta. I shared that with you guys here on the community tab on YouTube and also on my Instagram stories. I think think at one point it was like $10 and then they discounted them for $7. I don't know if they're leaving Ulta or whatever is going on behind the scenes, but this formula is so amazing. The Garden Lights has more of like your muted jewel tones. We have some berry and rosy tones, some gold shimmers, and this beautiful lilac. This almost like a grayish brown shade is so fabulous. And this palette is also beautiful. 5 of these shades, like this row and these 2 shades, they are firmer pressed. However, they're still beautifully smooth. These lighter shades here also serve as a beautiful face highlighter. I cannot recommend these palettes enough. I could not possibly make this video without mentioning this palette because this is one of my absolute most favorite palettes and favorite color stories ever. The formula is absolutely spectacular, but this color story is just everything for me. A Mothership 6 Midnight Sun. This color story is everything. It is so versatile. There are only 3 mattes in this palette, but they are very smartly made. You get a very beautiful base for any of your looks, any of these shimmers. There are also different shimmer formulas here. You get some that are more satin. You get her glitzy shades. I'm usually not a fan of satin shades. Generally, I love more of a sparkly shimmers, but these satins are truly beautiful. An honorable mention to another absolute favorite color story that I could not mention if I stay true to myself while making this video. Wildwood from Alter Ego and Yucca from Natasha Denona. Different formulations, different budgets right here, but the same color story. Again, this color story is one of the most beautiful and, to my opinion, the most perfect color stories ever made. I love Natasha Denona formula. One of my favorites, like I mentioned earlier. Alter Ego is also a very beautiful formula. Both of these palettes have removable magnetic pans. These are all the eyeshadow palettes that I'm including in my fall seasonal eyeshadow palette wardrobe. I'm very excited to use them in the upcoming fall season. I would love to know if you own any of these palettes and you love them as much as I do. If you have additional questions and comments, I'll leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to chat with you there. If you enjoyed this video, give this a big thumb up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you are not yet a subscriber. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and I will catch you in my next one.